has to go through an extensive amount of red tape to get them imported. They come from China, no new cars from the U.S. And one guy told me some new cars have been sitting in the customs dock, on the dock at customs for 10 years, and the people don't have the money to pay what the government requires to get the thing out. And so it's just a hard country to live in. You know, maybe some of you are familiar with what, you know, how communism works and what it does to a country. I think, you know, Lou is from being over in Vietnam and everything, but it's devastating to a country. So anyway, the students we had a real good time with the students. They ranged in age from 17 to about 45 years old. There were some married couples there, a lot of college-age students, and at the same time, a group from Columbia was there doing a 3-week intensive school on the arts in the Kingdom of God, and so they had all students who were interested in music and dance and different types of using the arts to express the gospel. And then they had a presentation one of the nights while we were there. It was very good. And so we really saw the Lord touch a lot of the students. Some talked about the way they grew up and the experiences they had with their dads. The two things we shared on was the Father heart of God and knowing our position before God. You know, I was telling Dan this morning, anywhere we go where we share these two themes, the response is always the same. Everybody always says this is the best week of teaching we've ever had. And it's not because we're great teachers, it's because what we're teaching about.
That's right.
It's something that really is from the heart of God, and it releases a lot of people to have a better understanding of who they are in the eyes of the Father and how we're supposed to really relate to the Father. And so, you know, there's a lot of times where, you know, different times when we'd be teaching and people would be weeping, and God, you know, really did a lot of neat stuff. Healed a lot of relationships and hearts. And, you know, one woman said, I've been a Christian for 23 years, and the only imagined image I had of God was somebody who was austere and very hard. She said, this is the first time in 23 years I've been able to understand who God really is and how He can be a father to me. I mean, this is a woman about 40 years old. Anyway, some real neat testimonies. We've been invited back, you know, to go back next summer. And so the only thing about, you know, a lot of the YWAM work we do, so that you understand, you know, when we go to Colombia, we go to Cuba, different places, the way YWAM operates and everything, we never ask for or expect an offering from the groups. On the contrary, in Cuba we had to pay everything. Our hotel, we had to pay all our taxi transportation to and from. And, you know, we try to also do what we can to help them. And sometimes we take things, sometimes we take money. And but normally we come back from all our trips broke because we use all our money for them while we're there. You know, because there's so many needs. There's one thing I can say about, I don't know if I've told you all this before, about YWAM in Latin America. The testimony of one of the couples they've been leaders of the YWAM base in Cartagena for going on 18 years now. They said YWAM in Latin America is probably one of the hardest places because of the economy for the students to get into it, because most of them, what they have to pay to get in is the minimum. As compared to the States, here to get into a YWAM base in the States for your 6-month tenure is about $3,000. In Colombia, it's $1,200. They have whittled it down to the bare minimum, bare bones. You like for breakfast, you eat 2 pieces of toast and a glass of juice. And these students just barely get by for 6 months. But he said, in the United States, YWAMers, 80% of them fall out and disappear after their 6 months. In Latin America, 80% stay in and are still in the ministry. And so there's definitely a different spirit in the students that go into this YWAM thing. They're not just doing it like for a half a year of fun before we go to college. These guys are serious about serving God. You know, so to us, it's a tremendous opportunity to be able to go and speak something into their lives that God can use and that they can build on it in the years to come. And it's really encouraging to us, and we think it's time well invested in the kingdom. Amen.